Hello everyone, welcome to part 6 of What If the Saiyans Were Revived, the conclusion of this awesome arc. Goku, Bardock, King Vegeta, and Vegeta are in the middle of an all-out war. Who will come out on top is anybody's guess. Will the Super Saiyan 4s rampage through the planet, or will the Super Saiyan gods reign victorious? If you like this sort of content and want to see more, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Now, let's get on with the story. The war resumes as the wrathful Super Saiyan 4s beat down on the Super Saiyan gods. These new Saiyans didn't fight like warriors, they fought like feral animals, ready to tear their prey apart. It takes Bardock and Gohan everything they got to defend themselves. Goku is at the front lines, fighting against Vegeta. He has to admit, this is the most fun he's had in a long time, but he was worried. He didn't like seeing Trunks and Vegeta like this. He tried to reason with Vegeta, telling him about Bulma, Trunks, everyone else, that he had gone through this before, that he had sold his soul long ago, but he couldn't reach him. Bardock is the one to stand tall against Cumber, even against the insistence of Kakarot and the others. But his Super Saiyan God, Bardock says, "No, this is our fight. A fight as old as time itself. Elites versus low class. Let's end this!" But even his Super Saiyan God power did little to stop the raging titan. Cumber grabbed him by the face, his evil aura corrupting Bardock's. It seemed like he was dying. Goku tried to rush in, but all the Elite Saiyans got in the way. Bardock's hand dropped to the side, along with his tail. Cumber then tossed him aside like a piece of trash. Everyone went cold, thinking Bardock was dead. However, he stood back up, slowly changing, transforming into a Super Saiyan 4. In the meantime, Super Saiyan 4 Future Trunks grabs onto Goten and Trunks, slamming them against each other. There's little they can do. Only the Bardock squad and a handful of other Saiyans remain. But even in their Super Saiyan God states, their numbers are much smaller. Even Guinea continues to fight, taking on Raditz. He defeats several Super Saiyan, but before he can kill them, Guinea appears, pleading with Raditz to stop, to remember who he is. He's not a vicious killer anymore. He can't go back to being his old self. She wants him to remember the old times, when he played with the kids, and when they were revived, and they went around the universe together, meeting Goten and Trunks and everyone. He had changed for the better. This is what they had fought for. But Raditz goes in to attack her. Guinea spreads her arms to embrace her son, telling him that she loves him, no matter what. Raditz's eyes widened, his pupils appear in once more. Guinea's tears drop from her face and onto his fur. The anger that had overtaken Raditz fades away while he regains control over himself. He hugs his mother back, thanking her for saving him again. He looks onto the battle, saying that he doesn't know if he can help, that they may be in a losing battle. But Guinea tells even if they don't win, they will have known that they defended their family, that they did all they could. They have to at least try. Raditz is finally convinced and asks his mother to come along with him. She smiles brightly. But everyone noticed one thing. Bardock was still struggling with the transformation. He was fighting against the corruption. Cumber's eyes widened. He hadn't seen this before. In fact, Bardock actually managed to break through the aura, his Super Saiyan 4 form remaining, but he could control it. He wasn't an evil Saiyan. Bardock turned to Cumber, saying, "You see, Cumber, us low-class Saiyans shouldn't be underestimated. You may have corrupted the elites, but me and Raditz, we both managed to break through your corruption. And soon, we will save all the other Saiyans here, starting with King Vegeta." Raditz arrived by his father's side. Cumber commanded his forces to attack, with Goku proudly looking on as his father rushed towards King Vegeta. Goku nodded at Vegeta, once again resuming their battle. Trunks and Goten fused into Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks, and Gohan burst one more time into Super Saiyan Blue. All of them inspired by Bardock to continue the fight. Gohan versus Trunks, Gotenks versus a variety of Saiyans. They all did their best, and from below, one Saiyan watched it all. He focused in on Raditz and Bardock, the father and son duo, the people who had been training him, his master and his rival. Seeing them work together break through the barriers made something snap within Broly. The fact that he could control himself. That's what he had been training for so long. And slowly, the aura dissipated from him as well. Broly returned. He could now control himself once more. But this Super Saiyan 4 state, it represented anger, hatred, all things that Broly was trying to get rid of. He snapped out of it and back to his regular Super Saiyan full power state. Bardock and Goku lead the charge against the Super Saiyan 4 army. Up until now, Cumber was just waiting by the sidelines, watching as the battle played on, but he knew he wouldn't be able to stay there for much longer. He watched as Broly approached his father, trying to tell him to calm down, that this isn't him, but Paragus was weak-minded. He wouldn't be able to take control of this himself. Broly locks eyes with Cumber. He knew that this was his doing. If they defeated that monster, then it would all be over. Broly charged towards Cumber, the final battle beginning. Future Trunks was a huge problem still, with Gohan and Gotenks pleading with him. He's a hero after all, a beacon of hope in this world. Even if his future was destroyed, his world still lives on within him and Mai. Future Trunks looks at Gohan, who reminds him so much of his former master. He thinks back to Mai, who was still waiting for him back on Earth. The time traveler finally came down, powering back down into his base form, gasping for air. He thanks Gohan and Gotenks for reminding him who he was, as Gine and a bewildered Beats show up after defeating one of the Super Saiyan 4s. With 5 pure-hearted Saiyans on deck, Gohan asks Trunks if he's ready to awaken his true power. Trunks agrees. They needed as much help as possible. Gohan, Goten, Kid Trunks, Gine, and Beats perform the God ritual on Trunks, granting him the power of Super Saiyan God. He takes his broken sword out, enveloping it with ki, declaring that he may not have been able to save his world, but he will save this one. As Broly and Cumber clash overhead, Trunks swings his sword once, slashing right through Cumber. He wasn't killed, but he was clearly surprised and hurt. Was he losing power as more and more people broke from his spell? But the most incredible matches were that of King Vegeta and Bardock, as well as Goku and Vegeta. The two pairs fought hard, with Bardock clearly having the upper hand against King Vegeta, but enjoying the fight nonetheless. The Super Saiyan 4 transformation was fairly similar in power to that of Super Saiyan God, but unlike Super Saiyan God and Blue, which are driven by calmness and unity with oneself, Super Saiyan 4 was driven by hatred, rage, and the animalistic instincts of the Saiyans. Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta was relentless against Goku, reminding him a lot of his battle against Ozaru long ago. Vegeta charges a giant blast that decimates half the arena, many Saiyans going down along with it, including Gohan, Trunks, and the kids. They are severely hurt by the surprise attack. Bardock sees what's happening, and he pleads with King Vegeta to stop the fight so they can help their sons, but the king tells him to shut up. The fate of his children is of no concern to him anymore. All he cares about is this fight, the feeling of dominating his opponent. Yelling at King Vegeta to wake up and look around, the king sees his son lost in rage, with Kid Trunks, Tarble, down on the ground, hurt from the blast. He remembers back to his time on Earth with his grandson and the emotions he felt when he first saw little Trunks and Vegeta turn into Super Saiyans. Gine pleads with King Vegeta to see the good that the Saiyan race had brought to the universe. For once in his miserable life, he needs to save the future that his family had worked so hard for. Bardock puts a hand on King Vegeta's shoulder, locking eyes. In Bardock's eyes, King Vegeta sees the many battles that Vegeta had gone through, the fights that he had been told about. Frieza, Cell, Boo, and many more. He couldn't let this go to waste. King Vegeta finally calms down, as he realizes that Gine and Bardock and that useless brat Kakarot were right all along. King Vegeta stops fighting as the two fathers fly towards their rampaging sons, with Gine alongside them. Goku rolled his eyes at the sight of King Vegeta, realizing that his Vegeta truly had to be the most stubborn person in the universe to be the only one in his family to not turn back. Thankfully, Broly was keeping Cumber busy for now. They had a chance. Gohan, Goten, Gine, Bardock, Future Trunks, Kid Trunks, Tarble, and King Vegeta all face Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, each one of them getting at least one punch in, with Bardock and the King lifting their arms up and blasting away. This makes Vegeta crash down to the ground, where everyone stops him in place. Future Trunks and his kid counterpart hover over Vegeta, telling him to not give in, that Babidi is not in control anymore. He never will be again. He shouldn't ever let anyone control him. Vegeta smiles, finally breaking through the dark aura, but something curious was going on. Both him and King Vegeta remained in Super Saiyan 4. Everyone else but Bardock, that had been taken in by the spell, had returned back to their base form, as Bardock and the others regroup to plan out a fight against the rest of the Saiyans and Cumber. King Vegeta stays behind. Gohan notices this, staying along with him. King Vegeta wonders why him, Vegeta, and Bardock were the only ones to remain in Super Saiyan 4. Even after the spell was broken, Gohan hypothesizes that elite pure-hearted Saiyans were the ones to keep that transformation, but King Vegeta said that didn't explain Bardock. Gohan acknowledged this, and King Vegeta continued.
Bardock, you're quite impressive. I didn't even stand a chance against Cumber and his aura. You're the only one who could. I think I finally understand how a genius like myself can't surpass you. I thought it was because of the love of your family, I thought your drive to protect allowed you to take advantage of your capabilities. This may have been a reason, but I too have been this driven. I fought to do as I wished, because I missed being the Saiyan I once was, killing my enemies, feeding my pride, taking back what Frieza stole from us. But Bardock, you're different, because you do fight to protect others, but you also fight with pride, with hope, because you absolutely cannot lose, and will not give in to any tyrant ever again. This is what cost you to break through your limits. So when Cumber was trying to take him over, he could simply remind himself of what he was fighting for. And he saw something in the Saiyan race that no one else could. And maybe it's something that he now realizes as well. The Saiyan race doesn't have to be all peaceful, but it doesn't have to be all about destruction either. The division we caused didn't mean anything, because Bardock knew all along. He is a low-class warrior with the pride of an elite. Go, Bardock. You are number one.
Vegeta thanks everyone, saying that it was their combined voices that brought him back to reality. King Vegeta, arriving by them, scoffs, telling that when this is all over, he'd like to go to that amusement park that his grandson kept talking about. Vegeta smiles as both he and his father charge their ki, their Super Saiyan 4 forms, in full display. Goku says that he's curious about that new furry form too, and says that he'd like to learn how to use it, but Vegeta tells him that maybe they should stick to Super Saiyan God. That's when Bardock thinks of something. Super Saiyan God? Super Saiyan 4? Bardock looked at his hands, with Super Saiyan Blue Goku on his left side and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta on his right. It was obvious what he needed to do. As King Vegeta said, a low-class warrior with the pride of an elite. As he watched the battle unfold, Bardock thought of everything he has been through. His friends, his family. He would never let any of this go to waste. With all of his might, he focused his ki, the godly power that had been gifted to him by his family. He felt it, his body heat increasing rapidly, and his strength powering up. Though Goku, Vegeta, and the rest were doing very well against Cumber now, he was still sending a large number of soldiers against them. But once the roar of an Ozaru was heard, they all looked back at the blinding red aura. The Super Saiyan 4 transformation now had red hair, similar to that of Super Saiyan God. Could this be Bardock's limit breaker? All the Saiyans stopped in their place. As Bardock took steps towards Cumber, the two stared each other down, one representing the evil of the Saiyans, and one representing the good. Goku and Vegeta stood behind Bardock, putting their hands on his shoulders. They were ready now. Without hesitation, Bardock uppercutted Cumber up to the sky. Cumber was completely taken by surprise. He couldn't even react. Bardock pointed his arm up, firing a barrage of ki bullets. Gohan, Goten and Trunks, and Future Trunks followed those bullets. And as they hit Cumber, the four of them smashed him back down to the ground. And as he was coming down, Goku and Vegeta fired a Kamehameha and a Gallic gun respectively. As he was thrown back, King Vegeta grabbed him by the legs and slammed him against the ground, creating a huge crater. As Cumber opened his eyes, he saw Bardock up in the sky, his fist full of ki. In it, Bardock saw his squad: Gohan, Goten, Trunks, Vegeta, Broly, Raditz, Kakarot, even King Vegeta, everyone who had been there for him along the way. And above all, Gine. Bardock screamed at the top of his lungs, "It's over!" The Saiyan rushing down to the ground, punching right into Cumber's chest. The huge imagery of an Ozaru showing up behind him. The Ozaru morphed into a dragon that came back, crashing down. There was a huge explosion that dragged everyone away, and as it dissipated into sparkles, everyone realized that Cumber had disintegrated along with it, the red mist being replaced by stardust. Finally, the balance of the Saiyan race had been achieved, and slowly every one of the possessed Saiyans went back to normal. Following the civil war that nearly tore the Saiyan race apart, Planet Vegeta began to rebuild. As promised, the Saiyan caste system was abolished, and sweeping reforms were enacted to feed, house, and heal the Saiyans affected by the war and the decades of pain caused by the system. People started to mend their relationships with one another. Although some people weren't entirely convinced about the new direction they were going, they decided that the only way for the Saiyan race to survive was to stand in unity. Paragus and the other rebels were charged for their crimes, but rather than being executed or placed in a dungeon for life, they were placed in rehabilitation programs. Paragus was placed in a team of 4 former elites, mid-class and low-class Saiyans, across the galaxy to reconnect planets that they had once waged war on, in order to help them rebuild. Paragus was shocked to hear that their leader was none other than his own son, Broly. He was bitter at first, but grew to like the work, and even the most stubborn of elites began to change. He saw the kindness displayed by his son, and took it as an inspiration. Despite his old age, Paragus was starting to see something that he had never seen before: hope. Hope for his people and the future. Paragus spent the rest of his life working to rebuild friendly relationships with other civilizations, healing the wounds of the past. The Z fighters prepared to go home, with King Tarble declaring that he isn't ready to be a leader just yet, and resigning. The Saiyans need a strong leader with an even stronger heart. The pair look over to Bardock, asking him if he'd like to be the king this time. Bardock is quiet at first, but declines. He still doesn't want to be king. It's just such a hassle. Instead, why don't they get rid of the monarchy altogether? Maybe they can try something else, like a republic? Instead of a single king making the decisions, a group of their best and brightest Saiyans could work with the people. King Tarble and his father gasp, but as King Vegeta barks at Tarble that such a thing had never been attempted before, Bardock grins, saying that there's no better time than the present. Their sons were able to change the futures before. It was time now that the Saiyan race forges a new path for a better tomorrow. Bardock and the king stretch out their hands, shaking them and smiling. King Vegeta decides to return to Earth with them, but only for a time. He plans to return to Planet Vegeta and fix the mistakes of the past by helping the Saiyan race rebuild. He also wants to assist in changing the government. When Bardock announces the removal of the monarchy and the birth of a new republic, the people cheered. On the seats of the new republic were Bardock, King Vegeta, Prince Vegeta, Broly, Tora, and Gine. With a senate composed of many diverse Saiyans from different backgrounds and classes, they would work together to create a new dynasty for the Saiyan race, though almost everyone still referred to King Vegeta as king out of respect. Future Trunks decides to move to Planet Vegeta with Future Mai, rather than find an alternate future to live in. Trunks believes that he and Mai can help the Saiyans rebuild and create a new home for themselves, while staying close to their friends. And as they get some time to rest, Bardock, King Vegeta, and Gine sit all together, looking from the broken castle up to the sky as the sun emerges. Goku comes up from behind them, telling them that they still have work to do. Bardock wonders what his son is on about, and Goku explains that he may have made a mistake, because they are about to compete in a multiversal tournament, and he needs their help. Bardock and King Vegeta are about to deny the invitation, but then look at each other, realizing that through all these changes, they're still Saiyans at heart, and love a new challenge. Love meeting new strong foes, and like seeing which one of them is the strongest. They nod at each other as they turn back around to look at the sky. But that's a story for later, because for now, we look into the future, where a small shrine sits on the top of the mountain where the castle was built. A little boy who looks a lot like Kid Goku praying to the shrine as someone comes up from behind him, placing a hand on his shoulder. The little boy turns around to see his grandmother, Pan, telling him that it's time to head out and finish the rest of their trip. Goku Jr. smiles and waves goodbye to the shrine of his ancestors as they step out onto the street as a massive, sprawling city appears in front of them. Planet Vegeta, now renamed Planet Sadala many years ago, was the crown jewel of the North Galaxy, a renowned homeworld for the mighty Saiyan Republic, a melting pot for aliens all over the universe, but the home to the Saiyans, the greatest peacekeeping force in Universe 7. Grandma Pan tells Goku Jr. that they still need to meet up with the Briefs at the fancy new restaurant, as Goku Jr. yells out in delight. Goku Jr. jumps up with excitement, and Pan smiles, knowing that somewhere out there, her family and the rest of the Saiyans look on proudly. Thank you so much for tuning in to this new part of What If the Saiyans Were Revived. I really hope you guys enjoyed. It was a lot of fun to make. And a big thanks to Professor Chimp, who was the co-writer in this story. If you haven't already, be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at SmugStickDB. And of course, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Shout out to the Super Saiyan Legend, Super Saiyan God, and Ultra Instinct members of the channel. With a special thank you to the Ultra Instinct members, Wayne Antoine, Super Kami Mewtwo, and Neo Whitcomb. Thank you so much. This channel just wouldn't be around without you guys. Thank you to Wayne Antoine, Eric Dragon, Super Kami Mewtwo, Neo Whitcomb, Sacred Saiyan, Phil J. Akir, Pizza Hut Kitman, Orlando Castellano, Hannah Rowan, Sir Justice, The Real Samuel Randall, and Zachary Croy. You guys rock. Also, before I forget, we have a shop now that's linked in the description below. There's some merch there that supports the channel and gives you some cool swag. Anyways, this has been your boy SmugStick, and until we meet again, see ya!